Hello and welcome to Budweiser Gardens for Game 4 of the 2016 NBL Canada Finals between the Halifax Hurricanes and the hometown London Lightning. Good evening, my name is Marty Thompson and I'm joined as always by Chris Croucher. Chris, Halifax took Game 3 by a score of 107-96, taking a 2-1 series lead.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting game because I found there was a lot of coaching adjustments that really played a key factor in that game. It seemed like every time out, we saw two different teams come out because their adjustments were just so good. And I think one of the things that we saw in Game 3 that will probably be a theme here tonight is some of the interior play of the Halifax Hurricanes.
A couple of players of note on Halifax that were part of that interior play, Mike Glover and Kyle Hunt.
Yeah, and I like the way that they were deployed in that game. Obviously, it's Halifax, so there's going to be a lot of players playing a lot of minutes. They like to use everyone. And I think it was interesting how they rarely played Hunt and Glover together, and what that did is it left London, who doesn't really have a natural center, having to swap Maxwell in and out because they wanted Maxwell as the matchup against Glover. But when Hunt came in, there wasn't an answer because Maxwell was sitting on the bench. So I think that was a good job by Hugo Lopez on the Hurricanes to really rotate his bigs really the right way and set up the Halifax Hurricanes for success.
Well, you touched on it there, but the depth of the Halifax Hurricanes, we're going to get into it a bit in the broadcast, but how they were able to rotate their bench in Game 3 really was the difference down the stretch.
Yeah, and they really had a 9-man rotation. They had 9 players who played over 20 minutes in that game, and all of them were contributors, too. I think they had 7 players of those 9 who were in double-digit points. Every single member of the Halifax Hurricanes that touched the court played an integral role to their success in that game. And I think that was, again, going back to the adjustments made by Hugo Lopez. He kept bringing in the right lineups for the right situations, and that's what led to Halifax really having a much stronger fourth quarter than the London Lightning and being able to secure the victory.
Switching to the London Lightning, Akeem Scott, congratulations on him getting the London Lightning's first ever triple-double in franchise history. They're going to be looking towards him and his fellow Akeem and Akeem Wright in this game.
And what a great time for your first ever triple-double, and for the team's first ever triple-double, then the NBL Finals. Akeem Scott has been a major factor on the London Lightning, and so has Akeem Wright. And the two Akeems have been putting just tons of effort in. In that last game, they accounted for 42 of London's points, 23 rebounds, and 14 assists. That kind of production is mental. So those guys did an excellent job of providing London just great contributions. However, they're going to need more help, and I think that comes from the three-point shooting. For London, it was very cold in that game, uncharacteristically so. So I think coming into this game, London's going to look to get that three-ball going early and try and bring support to guys like Scott and Wright. Wright ends up playing a lot more on the inside because of London's lack of size, and Scott's a guy who likes to have clear lanes to dribble his way to the basket, and three-point shooting opens both those things up for those guys.
Well, if you look at the Halifax Hurricanes, they're one game away from bringing this to a 3-1 series lead with 2 home games. London, they win tonight, they even it up. Still not the best, but able to, I guess, escape out of this London part of the series and head back to Halifax.
And for Halifax, this means unless they sweep in London, which I don't think they'll do, but if they'll either win it here in London or be able to take it home. So securing that victory was early is such a big confidence boost for the Hurricanes.
We're going to go down to the court to listen in the Canadian National Anthem. Again, Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals coming up. Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals coming up here at Bud Gardens. Marty Thompson and Chris Croucher up in the booth for this one. We're going to talk a bit more about Game 3 before we transition to this one, Chris. When you look at London's stat line, the one thing that sticks out is the free throws.
Yeah, and it was a very big issue for the London Lightning. They haven't shot the free throws quite as well as they like, but really it was a couple of uncharacteristic performances. Guys like Akeem Wright and Akeem Scott, who usually are money from there, really struggled with the free throws in that game. And you see in London how much they cared about it too, because Akeem Scott was out on the court until well over 11 p.m., long after that game, working on his free throws. He shot 50%, but he was hoping for a little bit better. And I think if the London Lightning could come in here, I mean, their missed free throws would have more than made up for the lead that Halifax had in that game. So if they simply make their free throws, it's a much, much tighter finish to that game. So London Lightning, if they can fix that, get to come into this game and know that they kind of had the Halifax Hurricanes had they not missed all those free throws. And they had a couple breakdowns at the end of the game I'm sure they're not happy about either. But coming into this one, of course, been an excellent coaching battle between Hugo Lopez and Kyle Julius, two of the best coaches in NBL Canada. And it's really been a chess match between the two with the types of lineups that they bring out here. So you know that they're coming in fully prepared. I don't think we're going to see those kind of breakdowns from London again. And I also know that they're going to come in here and have probably shot 100 free throws a day in the 2 days since last game. So coming in here tonight, London Lightning are going to hopefully look like a much more consistent team on the defensive end. As for Halifax, I thought they executed very, very well. A lot of people said it was an ugly game, but I think it was just a defensive game. I saw two coaches making the right adjustments at the right times. And that's something that, as the London Lightning move forward, and as the Halifax Hurricanes move forward, something to keep an eye on is every single time there's a timeout, how different the two teams look when they come out of it.
Megan Walker with the London Abuse Women's Centre being part of the tip-off there, and also presented London Lightning presented them with a Megan Walker and owner Vito Frigia getting set with a tip-off. Oh no, they're going to get some other players taking it. Saw them presented with a Rodney Buford jersey. We talked a bit about this before the broadcast, Chris. We looked at the depth of Halifax, 9-man deep really. Last game it was incredible, and you just look at the stats, it's unbelievable. And you compare that to some of the other teams we've seen in NBL Canada, one of them being the London Lightning team from 2012-13.
And yeah, I thought it was interesting how Halifax is kind of a throwback to some of the early years of NBL Canada, where there wasn't really one guy doing all the scoring on any of those teams. There was a group of guys who would average, I think for the London Lightning, if you go top 20 scorers, it's only Elvin Mims as the 20th highest scorer that year at 14 points per game. But then you go to the second page for the next 20, and I think almost the rest of the London Lightning roster's on that page. And that's kind of what Halifax does too, is they have so many guys who can hurt you in so many ways. And we talked about that 9-man rotation. They have 9 guys that they can come in and put into the lineup and consistently know they're going to get 10 points from. And that's an incredible asset. London has gotten this far on their depth as well, but Halifax might have that little bit extra. So for London, it's going to become a matter of shutting down some of those guys. I don't know if they can shut down Mike Glover as much as they probably need to, but I mean, a guy like Kyle Hunt is a guy they can lock in on and really try and stop. And a guy like Shane Gibson, and even some of the passing from Cliff Klinkskills. He had 0 points, but was a huge difference maker with his 12 assists. So that's the kind of thing London has to look for, is maybe an alternative to just straight up double team Mike Glover. They're going to have to come out here and just really, really lock down that inside if they can. And if not, one of the things that we talked about as an interesting idea, load your lineup with 3-point shooters. Just completely open it up. Admit that you're not going to be able to get the points inside that you want. London has some of the best jump shooters in the league. So go small, get your 3-point shooters into the game, and see if you can win that way, because then when Halifax comes down the other way, they can only get 2 points. If London can open up 5 different 3-point shooters, literally every single player has a dangerous outlet pass somewhere on the court by doing that. And Akeem Scott loves to drive to the rim, and he's one of the best at driving to the rim and then making a pass. If one of those passes can be to one of 3 Lightning players out on the perimeter, that makes the Lightning a much more dangerous team.
You've seen guys like Ryan Anderson and Warren Ward heat up in these playoffs, but very rarely have we seen them been very, very consistent. Obviously, it's hard to be a consistent three-point shooter. We know game to game it's completely different, but like you said, if they're able to get those consistent three-point shooters, that's really all that they, not to be rude, but I mean, if you're matched up against Kyle Hunt and you're looking at Mike Glover and how deep this team runs in the front court, you've really got to look to the backcourt if you're London.
And for London, looking at that backcourt, guys like Warren Ward and Ryan Anderson, they have the guns to do it. But unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for them. And I was actually surprised London didn't attempt all that many three-pointers in that last game. They only shot 23%. I know that's not a good number, but this has been their bread and butter for most of the year. And they kind of abandoned it when things got tough. I know it's playoff basketball and it's a lot harder to get your buckets, but I think if that's what you're good at, that's what you have to do. And so I think London's going to recognize that as well, because they kind of got caught playing Halifax's game in Game 3. They got caught trying to play on the inside, trying to charge the bucket, and I think they might space out the floor a little better in this game and see if they can. And I'm not saying you have to only shoot threes, but the three opens up the floor to make those drives to the bucket much easier.
One player we haven't seen yet in this series, Mr. Taylor Black.
And I think Taylor Black's an interesting one to me, because obviously we haven't seen much of him. But if this game gets a little out of hand, I mean, it's going to be a pretty easy call for Cal Julius to make, to try and go with the big young man, because he's a very tall guy, and he's pretty much the only natural big on the roster. However, he doesn't get a ton of minutes. He hasn't really played a whole lot, and he can be foul prone at times. But I think he's a guy that Halifax doesn't have tape on him. Halifax has not seen Taylor Black before. So I think if you want to just sort of throw a wrench in their plans and make Hugo Lopez be the one to respond, I think Taylor Black would be an interesting guy to throw in there. At the very least, he'll be able to clog the lane and just be a big body out there. He doesn't have to put up 10 points, but he can still make a difference in other ways. And so, again, Taylor Black, I don't think we'll see him tonight, but that's a sort of interesting wild card that London could play if they really wanted to.
Looks like it'll be the same starting lineup that London fielded in Game 3. Akeem Scott, Garrett Williamson, Warren Ward, Stephen Maxwell, and Akeem Wright. We brought it up in the pregame, Chris, but the two Akeems, and Akeem Scott and Akeem Wright, who bumped chests there at half court, pretty much half the points, assists, and rebounds that their team managed in Game 3.
And we talked about their fantastic performances, because really, if they had the supporting cast that they needed to win that game, that's a very different game. When you get those kind of contributions from two of your best players, you almost expect to win. And Akeem Wright has been remarkably consistent in these playoffs. He's pretty much been money for 15 points a game. And if you look at some of his down games, they were games in which it didn't really hurt the Lightning. Game 2 hurt them. Akeem Wright only had 6 points in that game. But some of the other games where Akeem Wright didn't have 15 or more, it was because they didn't really need him to have 15 in those games. And Akeem Scott has just been the engine driving this team in every single series. He had 30 points per game in round 1 and really carried this team. And of course, he had that triple-double in the last game. One of the things the Lightning need to do that'll make Akeem Scott even more effective, though, as we mentioned, is the outlet passes. Because then a defense can't just go, oh, well, he's just going to go to the rim. You keep defenses honest by having that three-point shot.
London versus Halifax, Game 4 at Budweiser Gardens. Very loud Budweiser Gardens, as always. Again, the lower bowl open, upper bowl closed for tonight's game. Of course, these two teams played on Monday. That was a 101-96 win for London. And looking back to those two games in Halifax, of course, London winning Game 1, in case you missed that. Halifax losing Game 2. These two teams will meet again on Friday, so 3 games in just 5 days before heading back out to Halifax, if necessary. Of course, London looking to win tonight, even the series up at 2 games apiece, and then all of a sudden that game on Friday is huge. If London's able to win this one, you're playing at home on Friday, you win that one, you've only got to win one in Halifax. London in white, Halifax in black. Marty Thompson and Chris Croucher up in the booth with you for this one tonight. Stephen Maxwell taking on Ronaldo Dixon for the opening tip-off. Another fantastic atmosphere for another very, very important game for both of these teams. Can Halifax take a stranglehold? Can London even it up? Game 4 is underway. Gibson hands it off to Cliff Clinkscales, and the Halifax Hurricanes get set on their first offensive sequence of the game. Dixon with possession, bounce pass Hunt. Hunt up against Wright there. Quick three here from Dixon, and it's good. Gibson with the three.
And just right there, we see a completely different Halifax team as opposed to the start of last game. It's a lot better when you start with a 3 as opposed to a 24-second violation.
Williamson hands it down low to Maxwell. He's contested. He gets that one, and he'll get the end one as well. 11:24 on the clock here in the first quarter. We're just underway, and as you said, Chris, this game off to maybe a bit more offensive, especially in the early beginnings of the game.
Well, I think last game was sort of the defensive game. This time, both teams recognizing that 101 to 96 is both low scoring for both teams, and I think Halifax recognizes it's doubtful that they hold London to that few points again. So they're going to come out here and try and get their buckets and make London respond.
Clinkscales tries to find Dixon. The ball nearly falls out of play. Wright collects it. We mentioned Clinkscales there earlier. 12 assists in Game 3. Here's Warren Ward. He went 1 for 7 from beyond the arc. He misses his first shot there. It was 1 for 7 from beyond the arc in Game 3. Clinkscales switches it off to Friesen. Scott in his face there. Here's Hunt. Hunt back to Clinkscales. Hunt in the post, 8 seconds on the shot clock, spins, fires, puts up, misses. But you just see how easy it was for Kyle Hunt over Akeem Wright. Wright really didn't even get up there to contest it.
Yeah, the height difference there really played a factor in Kyle Hunt being able to get that shot off so easily. He's had a good series against the London Lightning, and he's probably looking to have a big game here again.
Ward tries to find Stephen Maxwell before the ball is tipped out of bounds. 7 seconds on the shot clock. London getting set on the inbound. 3-3. 1 foul for the Hurricanes so far.
Well, maybe we ought to hold the presses on that high-scoring start as both teams out here not really able to make their shots. That's going to be a foul there up against the Halifax Hurricanes. I believe that's on Clinkscales.
It's interesting, the first score of the game happened to be a three-pointer, considering how poor both teams were from beyond the arc in Game 3, especially how bad they were in that first half.
And again, I think that's part of London kind of falling for what Halifax was doing and not really sticking to their game. The 3-ball has been their thing for most of this year.
Maxwell stripped to the ball by Dixon, and now here come the Halifax Hurricanes. Clinkscales. Here's Gibson. Kind of bit of a quiet night in Game 3. He drains that one. Gorgeous stuff. He has Halifax's 5 points. Akeem Scott rolls across for London. Again, London in white, Halifax in black. Akeem Scott for 3. Misses. Hits the back of the rim. Gibson with possession now. Runs into Scott, and that's an offensive foul.
Excellent job by Akeem Scott. I think that was Shane Gibson. Just kind of has to recognize that that's an option for Akeem Scott to draw that charge because Scott had position. Made it really easy on the ref to call that one.
Akeem Scott rolls across half again, as we mentioned. Still with possession. Finds Maxwell. This is Wright. Decent ball movement here for London. What can they do with it? Wright backs in on Dixon on the fade. Oh, so close for Akeem Wright on a fantastic move on the fade and finish. Deep 3 coming from Gibson. He misses that one. And Friesen gets in the mix quickly on Williamson. That's going to be a foul. And that's going to be 4 fouls all of a sudden for the Halifax Hurricanes, who've got 9 minutes to play in the first quarter. Well, Chris, fouls ended up being a pretty important part of the game on Monday, especially with a couple of players on either team fouling out.
Well, London did a very good job of drawing a bunch of fouls when they charged to the rim. As they've been tending to do in these playoffs, they did it a lot against Windsor, and it was effective. And it was effective last game, too, except they have to make those free throws.
Right off to Scott, and now to Warren Ward on this near side. Wright goes on the fade on Dixon, misses that one. It's tipped around. It will fall out of bounds off of London. Halifax getting set on the inbound. 5-3, the Hurricanes lead here, just by 2 points. Again, Game 4 of the NBLC Finals. 3 games in London, then 2 games in Halifax to close out this series. Ward tips the ball out of Friesen's hands, but it will just fall out of bounds. Halifax getting set on the inbound with 14 seconds on the shot clock. Clinkscales calls for it. Lots of space on this near side. He's going to take it up top. Great job by Gibson to grab that one. Scott was tracking him pretty quickly. Very fast player, Akeem Scott. Clinkscales, 4 seconds on the shot clock. Tries to move around Garrett Williamson. He will, but he misses the backboard altogether. London ball.
Yeah, a bit of a wild shot there from Cliff Clinkscales as the fans give it to him a little bit. Definitely not what he was looking to do there.
Scott makes the play call. Off to Williamson, and now to Warren Ward. To Stephen Maxwell in the post, over top of Dixon. Great job and a great finish there by Akeem Scott.
It's amazing how many rebounds Akeem Scott gets. He's usually the shortest guy on the court, but he's just so good at positioning himself under the rim and getting those rebounds. It's almost like Kyle Lowry if you watch the Toronto Raptors, where they just position themselves well and they're just so relentless when they're trying to get the ball.
Williamson on the fast break, off to Akeem right with the slam.
That's going to get the fans out of their seat there. London Lightning have a nice little stretch there, getting themselves the lead. It's starting to look like these teams are finding their rhythm.
You mentioned Akeem Scott. Well, we mentioned him getting that triple-double. It's funny that it came down right to the last play of the game with Scott grabbing that last rebound to bring him up to 10. Hunt off to Cliff Clinkscales. Misses the 3. He's well short. Clinkscales 0 for 2. A couple of howlers so far. Right for 3. Rims out. Scott can't grab the rebound, and it will be Halifax ball once again. Clinkscales takes it up. Great pass to find Hunt, who puts it down easily.
The best evidence of the height difference between those players. Kyle Hunt just played wide receiver there. This guy had to throw his arms up in the air, and there was the ball. Pass was on the money, too. Great pass.
Ward switches it now into the corner. This is Garrett Williamson for 3. He's got it. 10-7.
Garrett Williamson's one of those guys who can nail the pesky 3. It's not really a part of his game, but if you leave him wide open, he's able to drill it. And that time Williamson does it again for the London Lightning.
Clinkscales waits for some motion. Here's Dick Gibson. Avoids the swat from Scott. 9 seconds on the shot clock. This is Friesen. Finds Hunt. He's going to take on Wright, one-on-one in the post. Takes it up to Clinkscales for 3 on this near side. Can't get the roll. There's a foul on the floor.
They're calling that on Akeem Scott. There's a battle there between Akeem Scott and Joel Friesen, and looks like Friesen wins it as he gets Scott to foul.
Friesen sitting at 6'4", and you've got Akeem Scott at 6'1". Scott needing to get any type of physical advantage he can. Marcus Capers preparing to come into the game here for London. They make their first change. We're about halfway through this first frame. Looks like Garrett Williamson will be making way.
I expect Hugo Lopez to go to his bench and call on Mike Glover very shortly. That was one of the matchups that London struggled with, was when Capers was on the court. Halifax was able to bring in Glover and really do some damage in the paint.
Gibson with possession. Takes a quick 3 over top of Capers, and he's got it. Shane Gibson with a fantastic finish. He's having a great night. Ties the game up at 10-all.
Well, that shot there was even a bit of a heat check just to see if he still had the hot hand, and it turns out, yes, he does, as he nails the 3.
Ward switches it. Akeem Scott collects it one-handed. You see Mike Glover getting set to come into the game right behind Scott. There in front of the scorer's table. Garrett Williamson with a great finish.
And Garrett Williamson's one of those guys. We mentioned that he doesn't really shoot the 3s, and that's because he has such great touch around the rim, and that's an example of that right there.
Clinkscales. This is Hunt in motion to set the pick. They fake that one. Switches it over to Friesen, now back to Clinkscales. 5:34 on the clock in Game 4 of the NBLC Finals. 12-10. London keep the lead as Halifax missed that one. That was Dixon taking the shot. Switches it over to Scott. Distance 2 for number 9 in white, and he's got it.
I'd keep going to Akeem Scott because Cliff Clinkscales seems just a half step slower than Scott right now, and Scott's getting some open looks. But you have to feel good about this if you're Halifax. You don't have your best player in the game right now, and you're still keeping it within 4.
Clinkscales off to Gibson. 5 minutes to go now in the first. Bounce pass. Hunt takes it as looks like maybe Garrett Williamson gave him a little bit of a push as he's received the ball. Regardless, the refs will blow that one down, and we're going to get a media timeout. We're going to take a quick break here at Budweiser Gardens. We'll be right back. And we're back here at Budweiser Gardens. Marty Thompson and Chris Crouch are up on the booth. London and Halifax on the floor. Halifax's Kyle Hunt misses that first shot. Gone 15 for 23 from the field in this series. Incredible numbers from the big man. You just see him working down low. Uncontested with this London Lightning team. No one can really match his size, coming in at 6'10". Ed Horton's coming to the game. Wholesale changes for London. Nick Okori's come in along with Ryan Anderson. Okori gets his first touches there on the far side. Capers to find Anderson on the near side. He's in motion up top. 4 seconds on the shot clock. Oh, great pass and a great slam from Stephen Maxwell.
And see how London brought in the three-point shooters there. You have to watch out for Ryan Anderson, Nick Okori, and Ed Horton behind the three-point line. That opens up the interior, and we saw there, easy to cut to the rim. As we see a big play there from Ronaldo Dixon and Cliff Clinkscales. But what London's doing now, they've got their three-point shooters in. Ryan Anderson able to easily cut, and Maxwell left open because there's so much space on the inside now.
Maxwell taking it one-on-one, misses it. Of course, he had Dixon there contesting him. Clinkscales takes it up. Who's got it? Kyle Hunt, what a finish!
Kyle Hunt has had the series of his life right now as a member of the Halifax Hurricanes. He is just all over the place. And the longer Hunt keeps playing like this, the more rest the Halifax Hurricanes can give to Mike Glover and their other bigs. So this is a huge factor. Also, Ronaldo Dixon putting in some great defensive effort.
Corey misses that heavily contested spin and shoot. Clinkscales with possession on this near side. Lots of space on the floor. London getting set now. See 3 changes coming up for Halifax, one of them being Mike Glover. We mentioned how important he is. 6th man of the year, and really Halifax's best player. Just didn't start very many games this year. Dixon tries to get the foul call as he took the shot as the shot clock expired. Ryan Anderson with it. Stephen Maxwell to his left. He's going to move around Maxwell, tries to find some space, and that's going to be a foul against the Halifax Hurricanes, their 5th of the quarter. Eric Kibbe preparing to come into the game for London. Meantime, as we mentioned, Halifax, big changes coming, literally, as you've got Mike Glover coming in, Bowdry, who had a very good game last time out, and also Billy White replacing Friesen. Looks like that's Ronaldo Dixon, and I believe that was Kyle Hunt as well.
And this is a response to Stephen Maxwell coming out of the game, is now Halifax gets to put in some of their bangers down in the post and see if they can take advantage of their height difference.
Okori up top. to Capers in motion. Back to Corey. He's got some space. So does Ed Horton. It's deep. It's good.
Huge play there. Huge play. Ed Horton able to drill that three-pointer. That's going to get the crowd back into this game a bit.
Bowdry tries to step down low. This is Mike Glover in the spin. He's double teamed, works around, and there's a foul call. And it's going to be on the offensive side. Oh, it'll be a 3-second violation. Regardless, 19-14, 2:36 on the clock. Justin Johnson has come to the game. It looks like Gibson is making way. 19-14, London with the lead. Halifax have a 2-1 series lead in this one. Game 4, obviously. Anderson tries to step around Justin Johnson. Takes the fade. Oh, it's good.
Very tough shot from Ryan Anderson, but he also recognized he had the height advantage over Johnson there, and the height works both ways, not just in the front court. Ryan Anderson able to take advantage of a mismatch.
Clinkscales with possession. Ed Horton in position, playing defense up against him. This is Bowdry for 3. He misses it. It's tipped around. Glover. Oh my goodness, Mike Glover. He can do no wrong.
Well, it's not how, it's how many, and just like that, 2 points for the Halifax Hurricanes.
What a fantastic effort. With 1:50 to go, Ed Horton has possession. His Lightning up 21-16. Corey, Anderson in motion. Takes the shot. Distance 2. Bit of a hot hand after getting that one earlier. He misses this one, however. Clinkscales with his back to the net. Fires it across. Johnson steps. Anderson playing defense up against him for London. Looks like Johnson maybe slipped on the ground, but it's going to be a foul against Ryan Anderson. 4 now for London, 3 for the Hurricanes, or 5 for the Hurricanes, rather.
Yeah, unintentional there. Anderson kind of stuck his leg out trying to get around Glover, and it happened to be at the same time as Johnson was about to make his cut to the rim. So, a little incidental contact, and Halifax keeps the ball.
Johnson on the inbound, handing it off to Clinkscales. We've seen Eric Kibbe come into this game, Chris. He's instantly matched up with Mike Glover. Your thoughts on how that pairing's going to go so far in this game?
Well, Kibbe's one of the guys that can actually match up with Glover in terms of physicality and just brute strength. And one of the problems that Kibbe had last game, that foul is going to go against Mike Glover apparently, but one of the problems Kibbe had last game was that he fouled too often. So I think he's probably even been told by Coach Julius, you know, I can play you a ton of minutes, but you got to stay disciplined. So Kibbe, if he can play a lot more and be able to defend Glover effectively, that means more rest for Stephen Maxwell, and it gives London an option other than Maxwell to match up with that physicality.
Of course, Kibbe really fouling out. I think he racked up about 5 fouls in the span of maybe no more than half of a quarter last game. We've got a minute to go in the first quarter of this one. Johnson tries to step around, make some space. Gets switched over to Clinkscales. Corey up against him. Clinkscales finds some space, puts it up, misses. Shot clock expires, but a fresh one coming here for the Hurricanes. This is Justin Johnson for 3. He's got it. 21-19.
Couple of hot hands on the Hurricanes right now, and Johnson and Gibson are both shooting. And when you're able to have both those guys making buckets, we know London loves to shoot 3 balls. And having Johnson and Gibson hot, as we see Ryan Anderson go for one way downtown, that's not going to go. Having both those guys hot allows you to kind of keep up with London when they get into their 3-point shooting.
Clinkscales hands it off to Johnson. 5 seconds to go. This will be the last play of the quarter. On the spin, the shot is good from Justin Johnson. Ties this game up at 21 all as Ed Horton takes the distance shot. It hits the clock right above the net there.
Square in the middle of the shot clock there. That was if he was going for it, that was impressive, but I don't think that was his goal.
We're going to take a quick break here at Budweiser Gardens. we're back at Budweiser Gardens. Game 4 between Halifax and London. The Hurricanes have a 2-1 series lead. Marty Thompson and Chris Croucher up in the booth. Thanks to a last-second shot there by the Hurricanes in the form of Justin Johnson, this game is tied 21-all. Chris, your thoughts on that first quarter?
It was an interesting first quarter there as both teams kind of trying to figure each other out there. No one really playing their hand. London went with the small ball and it seemed to work for a bit there. But then Halifax kind of closed it down. But Ed Horton, amazing cut to the basket. And you see now that London's making their three-point shots, that spacing is there. So London's able to get cuts to the basket much more easily.
We mentioned it earlier, but game 3, no one was hitting from beyond the arc. I think it averaged out to be around 20% for both teams in that first half. It was around 14 each. That's traveling for Mike Glover in the post.
Well, a 3-second violation and now a travel on Mike Glover. I feel like the refs might have locked onto him a bit here in this game 4, as maybe they thought he was a little bit too physical, reviewed the tape, maybe they thought there were some fouls that weren't called, something like that. But each time the refs come into these games, they reviewed the previous one and have a tendency to lock in on guys that maybe they thought should have got called a bit more last game.
Corey steps around right down low here. Bounce pass here, Stephen Maxwell. Oh, he finishes it. Boudry punches the ball as it comes down to the ground. He's frustrated. Maxwell is going to the line.
Well, Stephen Maxwell, they're able to convert on the very tough opportunity, and he did an excellent job of adjusting his body for that too.
11:09 left in this second quarter. Stephen Maxwell getting set from the line. Maxwell now 3 for 5 from the field so far tonight. London shooting just shy of 50%. Boudry tries to shovel it off into the corner to Billy White. Here's Johnson. Ooh, he gets that one to go at the very top of the key.
Justin Johnson having a very strong game so far, for the Halifax Hurricanes.
Horton off to Akeem Wright, hesitates on the 3, moves it down low, finds Stephen Maxwell. He's fouled, and it's going to be a foul against the Halifax, or against London. 26-23, the refs blow things down. Looks like Halifax was a little quick to get things started. Again, 26-23, 10:30 left in this second quarter. As always, if you're looking to sponsor Knockstrom TV into the 2016-17 season, feel free to get in touch. Contact information will be on screen all night long. Klingscales pushes off Ed Horton. Johnson with Glover battling down low, up against Akeem Wright.
Real battle here.
Still got it on the fade. Ooh, he gets that one to go. Great hook from number 1 in black.
And Glover kind of took over Akeem Wright in game 1 when Akeem Wright was the defensive matchup. That's something that London might want to change. I think it'll be Maxwell for most of the way.
Ryan Anderson with it. Maxwell trying to find Wright. You see him moving down low. Ball still along the perimeter. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Akeem Scott.
Well, I mean, why not if you're Akeem Scott? Great shot from the London point guard who's still feeling it after last night's big performance.
Justin Johnson with it at the half circle. 9:36 left in the second. Finds a bit of space, takes it up over top of Akeem Scott, and great stuff there from Justin Johnson, following up on his fantastic performance in the first half.
Well, Justin Johnson had 5 points in that first quarter in very limited minutes. He's really come into this game feeling the same kind of vibe as well. He's had a little bit of help from Shane Gibson too, both of them feeling hot.
Akeem Scott with a fantastic finish at the rim. 31-27. Aforementioned Johnson with it. Now lugging the ball as Klingscales moves down low. Him and Billy White switch places. This is White with it now. Tries to move around Maxwell. Backs in. Tries to spin. Fires. Hits the rim. Gets the putback. No. Glover grabs it. Who's got it? Fantastic defense there from London. Here's Boudry. Will he finish? No, he will not. Ryan Anderson with the rebound. The ball falls out of play off of London.
That's one that will make a coach pull his hair out. You get them to miss 3 times in a row, and then you knock it out of bounds. Good job by Mike Glover to disrupt that play. And now London's going to have to hope for a 4th stop in a row.
8:41 left in the second. As always, we'll have Aaron Saunders on at halftime to talk a bit about this first half of play once it has concluded. Billy White, of course, wearing that mask after that collision in game 1. Johnson, Ward with some very stingy defense, just poking the ball out of number 7's hands. Johnson still got it though, trying to find a bit of space, loses it. Great pass there by Anderson, and now here comes Warren Ward, up, taking it, foul, and he's going to go to the line.
Warren Ward struggled a little bit shooting the ball last game, but he was also one of the London Lightning players who had an okay night from the free throw line. Made all of his in that game when most of the team was really struggling from there.
Hugo Lopez a little upset with the refereeing there, as you can see in the near side. Warren Ward at the line. Shoots about 80% from there. Just about money. 2 fouls for the Hurricanes, 1 for the London Lightning so far. Rims out there for number 10. Ball falls out of play, and it looks like it will be Halifax ball coming up. Mike Glover getting set on the inbound. Justin Johnson out of Tyler, Texas. Moves it across half. Still has it. The key's open. Who's moving down low? This is Billy White. Oh, finds it and slams it.
Excellent ball movement from the Halifax Hurricanes. It's one of those cliches in basketball that the ball gains energy the more you move it. And that's an example right there. They kept moving the ball. Eventually something opened up there for Billy White.
Scott manages to find Akeem Wright, who steps underneath. Oh, great finish from Akeem Wright.
Akeem Wright, he hasn't been that loud in this game, but he's starting to get it going for the London Lightning. He's been one of their major contributors.
Ooh, Justin Johnson.
Well, now both teams are starting to feel it here. Justin Johnson drills that one to add to his strong first half. Right now, it was the big men for the Hurricanes who made it happen last game. Now it's the guards having their turn as the stars of the show.
Johnson, the hot hand, tries to step around Wright. He will. He's going to draw the foul. Perhaps a little light. He's going to the line.
Not sure about that one.
Marcus Capers coming into the game. It looks like Akeem Wright is making way. 7:10 on the clock. Budweiser Gardens gets a little loud for Justin Johnson as he gets set to take his free throws. Of course, Johnson played with the old Rainmen in the league's first season. He's averaging 16 points per game in these finals. Again, it's just a 2-point game, 7:10 on the clock. Johnson gets the second one to drop. Capers bounce pass off to Scott, and we're back underway here for London. Scott still with it. Finds Warren Ward. Oh, a sneaky three on the far side. He gets it to drop.
Big three there, and that's what they got Warren Ward to come to London for, is his ability to drain those threes. And he did a good job that time drilling it. He hasn't been shooting terribly well in the series, but if he can get going, he makes the London Lightning that much more dangerous.
Glover in the post. Halifax trying to get something going down low. Gibson, or my apologies, Mike Glover's fouled, and he's going to the line here. Of course, Mike Glover, we mentioned there how important of a player he's been for this team, and one of the 7 players in these playoffs that have averaged 10 points per game for the Halifax Hurricanes. All of them combined average for about 78 points per contest. That's an incredible number to get from 7 different players.
And considering those guys have been so huge for this team, anytime you get a performance like they got from Kevin Loisel in Game 3, it's just gravy, because they know that they're going to get that kind of production out of their big 7, and anyone else who comes along just makes them that much better.
Williamson makes the play call. He moves across half. lugging the ball here for his Bolts. This is Ward. Takes it down low to Maxwell. Oh my goodness, Stephen Maxwell.
Stephen Maxwell, one of the best at adjusting mid-air to contact. And that's an example there. He took the contact and was still able to just lay it in.
Ward remaining very aggressive on defense up against Justin Johnson. Still has the ball, takes it to Boudry. Billy White back to Boudry. Ooh, great move by Glover. He's fouled. He's going to go to the line. Interesting to see London electing to foul Glover just about every time he has an open look at the basket.
Well, it's like hack-a-shack out there for Mike Glover right now, and I think he's getting a little bit frustrated. He's been really unable to get any sort of flow into his game. London's done a good job of really kind of reeling him in a bit. You don't want to keep sending him to the free throw line for long, but it again keeps him out of rhythm if you send him to the free throw line as opposed to having to just watch him kind of dominate on the inside. It's better off that you foul.
Well, speaking about Mike Glover, Eric Kibbe coming into the game here for the Bolts. Budweiser Gardens getting loud. Glover drains the second one regardless to make it 39-35. As I mentioned, Kibbe coming in, Stephen Maxwell making way. Lightning ball. Halfway through the second quarter. Williamson tries to move it all along. It's taken here by Kibbe. He's fouled. And he's going to go to the line by the looks of it. 3 fouls each at this point as we get an immediate timeout. We're going to take a quick break at Budweiser Gardens. We'll be right back. .551 left in the second quarter. Halifax versus London. Game 4 of the NBLC Finals. Halifax looking to take a 3-1 series lead. London looking to tie this one up with one more home game in this series. Kibbe misses that first one. Couple of jeers from the crowd. Quebec City native gets the second one to drop. Inbound coming. Interesting to see how Warren Ward plays up against Justin Johnson. It's just seen how hot Johnson has been. Ward's not giving him any space. 9 seconds on the shot clock. Johnson managed to move around Ward. Here's Glover. He's fouled. No basket by the looks of it. I'm thinking that Johnson was fouled.
I think they're going to say blocking foul on Kibbe there.
Don't think that basket counted.
Yeah, it was Johnson making contact with Kibbe, so that was before the pass. So I think that's going to be the blocking foul.
That's correct. So
just they're giving him a shooting foul. He didn't shoot.
Justin Johnson at the line. The refs are going to have a quick chat. That's likely what they're talking about. Meantime, Kyle Hunt comes into the game, and Mike Glover makes way for Halifax. The refs change their decision and will inbound instead. Maybe a couple more of the basketball savvy fans in the crowd applauding to that decision. 4 fouls for London, now 3 for the Hurricanes. White. This is Dixon. Distance 2, misses. Taken here by Capers. And now here come the London Lightning. Trying to stretch the floor. Here's Warren Ward. Takes a step out. They're going to slow it down. Scott moves underneath. Oh, so close for Hakeem Scott. Capers right up into Bowdry's face. Johnson with it. Hunt sets the pick. Gibson on this near side. They're going to take it over to the far side instead. This is Bowdry. 8 seconds on the shot clock. All eyes on the net. Misses the... Hits the rim. 4:50 on the clock in the second.
Eric Kibbe putting in some really good minutes on the defensive end here for London as Warren Ward misses that shot. But I like what Kibbe's brought here, and again, we've talked about how Stephen Maxwell gets the brunt of the work in the interior. Kibbe giving him a break is one of the best things to happen for the Lightning.
Great finish there by Billy White. Las Vegas native makes it 40-37. 4:26 left in the second quarter. This is Garrett Williamson with it on the far side. Kibbe, finds some space. Great awareness, hands it off to Hakeem Wright. Runs into a couple brick walls there right underneath the hoop. Here's Justin Johnson to Gibson along the baseline. Switches it. Foul call, and it's going to go against Gibson.
And there again is one of the ways Kibbe can make an impact without scoring, as Eric Kibbe does a great job there drawing the charging foul.
4 fouls each. Capers has a quick chat with the referee before he gets set on the inbound. One of the storylines out of this series, Chris, has been these two coaches, Kyle Julius and Hugo Lopez. Basically the only two coaches you can really pick for Coach of the Year. Lopez winning that battle. It's been a fantastic series in terms of coaching and how these teams have adjusted. This is Warren Ward with a fantastic shot, tapping Gibson on the rear end as he runs past.
Yeah, I gave him the old good try there as he went by. Warren Ward, one of the better one-on-one players in the league, and there's another example.
Johnson avoids the swat there from Scott. No call. Johnson still with it. Scott still playing defense. Now it's switched to Kibbe after that pick. Capers, great interception, and now here comes Warren Ward. He's stripped, frees him. Back onto the court, loses the ball. The refs blow things down.
I think that's going to be a foul on Hakeem Scott coming back. Warren Ward's got to be a little bit more aware on that play that there was a defender right there, and unfortunately that's going to result in a turnover.
Interesting to see Ed Horton come back into the game and Hakeem Scott make way. Horton with a very effective first quarter, essentially replacing Scott at the one position. Johnson still with it. Friesen in motion, runs into Kibbe, goes to ground, no call. Billy White swings, pushes, maneuvers, and now back to Justin Johnson for 3, rims out.
Everything but in on that shot.
42-37. We've got 3 minutes to go. Warren Ward misses that one. Taken by Billy White. Keeps the ball in. And will slowly get things started here for the Hurricanes. Johnson tries to step around. Lots of space right underneath the hoop. He finds it. Can't find the hoop though. Taken by Kibbe. 2:35 on the clock. Horton steps across half. Waits for his players to get in motion. Here's Kibbe. Williamson moves down low. Horton back with it. Now back to Kibbe. Finds Capers. Runs into Hunt.
Good defense there from Kyle Hunt. Just straight up and down. Gave the ref nothing to even think about whistling down there.
5 fouls for London, 4 for the Hurricanes. Hunt make that 6 fouls for London, and looks like Hunt's going to go to the line. Change coming up here for the Halifax Hurricanes. 2 changes, in fact. Looks like Kevin Loisel is preparing to come into the game, the former London Lightning player. Cliff Clinkscales replacing Billy White.
Much quieter reaction to Loisel entering than in Game 3. Maybe they got all the booze out their system.
As I mentioned on the broadcast, that was the loudest the building got at that point. And keep in mind, we had Stephen Maxwell. He had like 4 dunks at that point.
Yeah, there were some pretty huge plays, but Kevin Loisel coming in the game, that got some of the bigger reactions from the crowd. And I mean, it makes sense. He first plays for London's Central Conference rival in Windsor, then he comes here and then plays for London's Atlantic Conference rival. They've met before in the finals with the Halifax team here.
Horton to Wright, and now to Ryan Anderson. They're having trouble finding space up top, but they're going to find the space down low.
That's just a pretty and very heads-up play there from Ryan Anderson, finding Akeem Wright cutting to the rim. That's just fundamental basketball right there.
Minute 44 left in the second. Aaron Saunders coming on at halftime. Gibson steps around, over top. Oh, gets that one to drop.
Probably could have been a foul on that play, but Gibson able to execute on offense and keep the Hurricanes within reach here. It's only a 3-point game with 1:20 left. No team giving up any ground.
Warren Ward steps back, takes his time. For 3, Warren Ward misses it. I mentioned before, going 1 for 7 from beyond the arc in Game 3. Clinkscales still with it. To Friesen. Clinkscales again. Takes it up, gets that one to drop.
Cliff Clinkscales, just a very intelligent veteran, able to cut to the basket on that play.
Horton steps up over. Oh, tipped there by Williamson. Can't get it to drop. 47 seconds on the clock. Friesen to Loisel on the near side. Friesen makes the play call, calls in Hunt. Tries to move it around. He's matched up against Wright. Good effort, but looks like he was fouled by Wright. London, obviously, over the limit.
Yeah, he just gave Friesen a little bump there. Now, because of the current situation, and the fact that it was a shooting foul anyway, but it's going to go to the free throw line here, and Halifax looking to do some damage.
Joel Friesen gets set. Meantime, Halifax making a change. Looks like Billy White is coming to the game. Kyle Hunt's getting set to make way. Joel Friesen originally signed with the River Lions this season, back in December. The Niagara River Lions losing to the Windsor Express in 3 games in the first round.
One of the CIS guys we have here in NBL Canada. And it's always good to see guys who come from a CIS school, and then you also have guys who played at a bigger school in this league as well. So it's kind of neat to see CIS guys competing right alongside graduates of some of the biggest Division I schools in all of the country, really. America being the country as far as D1 schools go.
Kyle Julius calls a timeout. The Halifax Hurricanes get their first lead of the game, 45-44.
Yeah, and it's looking awfully similar to Game 3 there. No team really giving up any ground. Both teams keeping it close.
It's going to be interesting to see what London's going to do out of the interval, Chris, because we've seen the adjustments. We've seen the adjustments this year all year long, but especially in these finals.
Yeah, and I think the coaching battle has been one of the parts of this, for me anyways. I know some people said that Game 3 was ugly. I thought it was just a chess match. It was every time there was a timeout, anytime there was even the slightest lead or slightest gap opening up. I don't think I've seen as many timeouts when the lead was just within 6 or 5, so not even a huge total. But they still called the timeout, made the adjustments, and kept it tight until the fourth quarter when Halifax started pulling away there. And again, we're seeing something very similar in this game. No one's really pulled ahead by any significant margin, but we're seeing out of timeouts, whether it be a media timeout, different lineups and completely different looks. We've seen wholesale changes every time there's any sort of substitution. It's very, very common that 3 guys are coming into the game at any given time. And so we see again the 2 coaches trying to match up each other against match up their lineups against each other. Pardon me.
45-44. London coming to the court with the ball. Horton has it. Tries to outrun Johnson. Thinks wisely to stop that. You see Anderson grabbing the ball. Gibson so quick on defense. Anderson loses it. Here comes Billy White. Bounce pass to Kevin Loisel. Great finish by the former Bolt. Williamson gets possession as London tries to get things started. Shot clock has expired. There's 10 seconds to go in the first half. Williamson still with it. Now down to 5 seconds. Into the corner. Warren Ward for three. There's a foul. So with 4.1 on the clock, London gets set on the inbound. A very smart foul there by Kevin Loisel. London forced now to get a shot off here in the next 4.1 seconds. Meantime, Halifax going to make a quick change. Every point counts. Gibson's coming out. Boudry's coming in.
Well, I think London's going to want just a quick play at the hoop here.
Horton to Warren Ward for three. Misses the three. And that's how this first half is going to end. 47-44. Chris, your thoughts?
Well, I think in that quarter there, London and Halifax did a lot of the same things as the first. Again, we see the wholesale changes every time there's a lineup change. And every single time there has been a lineup change, just both teams respond perfectly. We haven't seen the interior battle that I think we thought we were going to see. And that's been one thing that's been completely different, is that last game, Game 3 was played almost entirely on the interior, as opposed to Game 4 here, which has been mostly played on the outside. So we're going to throw it up to Marty again with Aaron Sanders for the halftime show.
Hello and welcome to the halftime show. Marty and Aaron up here in the booth. Aaron, what are your first thoughts on that first half? Halifax getting out to the lead late.
Talk about coming out with a vengeance. You know, if one team's up 2-1, you have to divide and conquer. But I've seen both teams coming out to conquer. London, they knew what they had at stake. They're looking to tie the series up, make this a best-of-3 series thereof. But even though it's a 3-point lead for Halifax, I felt like it's a pretty close game. Halifax, they played all ball, started shooting outside, going in the mid-range, using great ball handling, great ball spacing out there, shooting 50% from the field, all from the first quarter. London, they fired back with some great spacing on the offense. Good passes, crisp backdoor passes. They've been doing that the whole postseason, which led them to easy buckets. They shot 45% from the field. But the second quarter, as always, within the last 4 games of this series, is where everything shifts gears. Halifax, they made their physical presence known, stepping in defensively, making those great screens offensively. Reacted smooth off of London's screens, trying to deflect those screens. But however, London, they beat Halifax on the transition. That's one plus you got to take out of the first half. Their defense was on par. London, in order to make sure to make Halifax shoot in their uncomfortable zone, which is outside of the three-point line, they switched up their defense a little bit, played 1-4 up, and make sure that they made their presence known. London, they played the box defense as well. But unfortunately, that's where it suffered the most. Halifax, they came in, scored those easy buckets, and especially the turnovers, they were a bit of key factor. I can remember one time, Ryan Anderson, 30 seconds to go in the second quarter, a little too much dribbling that led to Halifax really beating London in their own game, the transition game. So that's my thoughts for the first half.
Looking towards the Halifax Hurricanes, we talked a lot about Mike Glover in our halftime segment in Game 3, and Kyle Hunt as well. He's had a fantastic game so far. Your thoughts on their performances? So,
Mike Glover, if you are a guy of his stature, there is one thing you have to do. The password is conquer. Another password is destroy. He destroyed inside offensively. Everybody knew to give it to the big man. Step in, make that space known, create charges defensively, and block up the shots. That's what he's been doing.
Your thoughts on the second half coming up? I know that you're pretty much spot on for Game 3. Yeah, your thoughts moving forward.
First of all, if you're at Halifax, you gotta keep on with the all ball too. There's that little guy who's shooting threes from Kingdom Come, especially back in a couple of games ago, Joel Friesen. You probably heard of the guy. He's on fire for threes, but if you're London, you gotta make sure you go man to man on him as well. But if you're London, you gotta keep Halifax out and make them fire out. Meaning, keep up with that 1-4 defense that you've been doing midway through the second quarter and make them shoot at uncomfortable shots. Make sure they make them dump it out, shoot it outside, because they've been pretty low on the three-point percentage, and that's how you could beat them in their own game. As for Halifax, you got to slow London down with the ball movement. London has been very quick, very responsive on Halifax's screens. So you got to make sure that you pick up on that and just play your own game. Swing it around. Great ball handling equals to better percentage baskets.
Your prediction for this game as well, I've got to ask.
Well, even though Halifax is up 3 right now, I cannot predict that it will go to overtime. What matters the most is the final 24 minutes, the second half. I see London really stepping up on the transition game offensively, but defensively, if they keep up with the 1-4 defense and not switch the box on the same possession, switch it up a little bit on every possession, they will beat Halifax and they will get their number and they will turn this best-of-7 series to a best-of-3, tie this series 2-2.
This series has become a bit of a chess match. We've been talking about it on the broadcast. People at home have heard that, obviously. Hugo Lopez versus Kyle Julius, the adjustments that they've made.
Hugo Lopez, obviously this is a team stacked with big men, but they knew how to switch it up to the little guys, especially the second string. Joe Friesen, we go back to him once again, a very confident shooter. Once he gets the shot going, he reminds me of Vinny the Microwave Johnson. The guy, once he starts making 2 shots, he gets confident. So the confidence key has been the game for Hugo Lopez Hurricanes. That's why they've been shooting more in the mid-range and the outside, because of the ball handling. As for Kyle Julius, he knew his team really has to come back with a vengeance. So what they did, switching, good communications on screens. Even though it's a small ball lineup most of the time, they make it up. And I mentioned this last time, Marty. Stephen Maxwell, the guy with a vertical leap, same with Warren Ward. So they really size up. They switch it up with the man-to-man. And when their setup plays, they go back to pressuring Halifax on defense.
Aaron, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming around. We'll be right back with the third quarter. Hello and welcome back to Budweiser Gardens, Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals between Halifax and London. The Hurricanes have a 47-44 lead after one half of play. The third quarter just coming up here at Budweiser Gardens. Marty Thompson, Chris Croucher, and Commissioner David Magley in on the booth here. David, how are you?
It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, for sure. You've seen the games out in Halifax. You've seen them obviously here. It's been a very, very good series, especially for the league to have the two best teams going at it.
Yeah, it really has been exactly how it should be. You know, the two best teams are competing till the very end. London had a heck of a first half and a bad last 2 minutes, and the results are a good team like the Hurricanes will chip it away and come right back.
Now, you're a former coach. You were, of course, coach of the Brampton A's before you became commissioner. One of the things I've noticed is coming out of different timeouts, the adjustments these coaches are making. What kind of things are you seeing from both Hugo Lopez and Kyle Julius?
Well, they're both very good X's and O's guys. So what you watch is you watch the inbounds play. Kyle called a timeout towards the end of the half, and they didn't get a good execution. I know that frustrated him because they came down and scored. But there's often times when both coaches will make a call on an out-of-bounds play, and they'll go right back and make an easy layup, and that's a lot just the system that they run, and they practice it, and they're awfully good at it.
Plays back underway here at Budweiser Gardens, and it's off to a bang. You see that alley-oop attempt, Clinkscales with the pass, and the refs are to get their whistle out. We're about 15 seconds into this third quarter. Again, Marty Thompson, Chris Croucher, and Commissioner David Magley in the booth. London is in white, and Halifax is in black. Another decent crowd here at Budweiser Gardens for this one. Hakeem Scott rolls across half. Ward comes to. Lots of movement, as you can see. Ward tries to step around. Runs into a wall. Billy White getting his hands out there. Scott with it. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Here's Hakeem Wright. And the ball falls out of play. Halifax ball.
How many turnovers were there in the first half?
A few. Got the stats out on the sheet here.
It was 9-6, 9 from Halifax, 6 from London.
Yeah, well, that's better for London because they had 20 last game, and that's not the way they want to start this half out.
Friesen backs in on Warren. Ward trains it. Fantastic finish.
It's fun to watch Canadian on Canadian crime with these two CIS guys going at it like that.
100%.
They've both had great years, and I would argue they've been the two best Canadians in our league.
Well, it just adds a little extra juice to that matchup if you're Joel Friesen, knowing that's the guy who beat you for the award.
Absolutely, and there's some pride in there.
Garrett Williamson with possession on the near side. He's going to take the long jumper, drains it. Another Canadian with that one.
Yeah, he's a solid, tough kid, boy. He does a lot of things well.
I think it's interesting. You're seeing, of course, the Canadians coming from CIS, but then you're also seeing Canadian citizens like Garrett Williamson, who came from St. Joe's and came from NCAA. Can you speak on that? Like, how cool is it for you as a Kansas grad to see guys coming from D1 schools and getting a fight from guys in CIS?
Well, I think it's, I think one of the goals of our league is to build the Canadian brand and Canadian basketball, period. It benefits all of us as we do this. So when you watch high-level Division I players like Hakeem Wright that just shot that from Kansas State, going up against good CIS players, and you realize there's no difference between them. It helps build the brand of the CIS, and it helps build the brand of our Canadian basketball leagues, which we're trying to build.
While we're on that, I know it's the finals, and there's lots to talk about, but you guys have a specific combine going on this weekend, correct?
Yeah, we actually have a tryout event this weekend just for Canadian players. 40 guys, and we're really trying to mirror and mimic what the CFL does, which is bring in the top Canadians, watch them work out. Right. A few weeks later, do our research and homework, and have a Canadian-only draft and start, again, continuing to support the brand. When we went out to the CIS coaches, we were blown away how excited they were that we were reaching out to them and having them be a part of what we do. And I'm just I'm excited for that piece of what we're trying to do. It's kind of the last piece of the puzzle as we continue to grow this brand in this great country.
We just see Billy White going off there. He took a shot in the face. He, of course, has the broken nose and has been wearing the mask. Very tough character out there. He's going to get back up and stay in the game.
Yeah, he's going to have to get used to breaking the nose, because once you break it once, it's going to break again. Trust me, I've had 6 of them.
Well, also the mask, being a jump shooter is all about your comfort level, right? And I think the mask kind of throws that off.
There's a peripheral vision piece, and you just can't see as easy as you can. I remember trying to play in one at Kansas once, and I played about 8 minutes and just had to throw it aside because they had better players than I did in the mask if I weren't ready to go out of it.
Akeem Scott with possession for London, 53-50. They're down by 3. We've got 9 minutes to play in the third quarter. Warren Ward for 3 on the near side, ties the game up.
You just can't give him an inch. He is just such a pure shooter. It's fun to watch him play.
Well, even having him and Ryan Anderson, when those two let it fly, it's some of the prettiest jumpers you'll see in NBL Canada.
Well, and then you turn around and you watch Friesen and Gibson and Justin Johnson. I mean, you've just got some great shooters on the court tonight.
Akeem Scott switches it over to Williamson, but there's a foul. Something on the floor. 8:36 left in this third quarter. 2 fouls for the Hurricanes, 0 for the London Lightning so far. Kyle Julius with the jacket off at this point.
The jacket off and the patches on the sleeve. He's setting a fashion statement. Coach Julius has done it. Marty, we also start our combines all over North America the next weekend, and we'll have 30 of those. They start in Raleigh, North Carolina on the 18th and come back to Albany, New York the 19th. Then we're in Boston the 25th and Sioux Falls, South Dakota on the 26th. So there's going to be a lot of traveling for the old ball coach coming up.
Couple of different coaches from the NBL are part of that, correct? Is that how that format is this year?
Well, it's pretty much I go to every one, and then we're going to rotate. Coaches are going to be there to support it, and we're pretty fortunate that they trust that I'm decent at a judge of talent, and so my reports tend to help guys get jobs.
Ooh. Ward collects the ball after that skirmish underneath the net. I guess the advantage to being a coach, if you were, say, Joe Salerno, for example, getting out to see those guys firsthand.
I tell you what, I tell the guys at the beginning of every combine, nothing personal, but I'd rather see people play in person than trust an agent. Not that agents lie, but they're paid to get their guys jobs. So they send us highlight tapes where guys never miss shots. They run as fast as they can. They jump. They look incredible.
Oh, Billy White takes it and slams it on the other end of the court. Sorry to interrupt there.
No, that's fair. And so, it is absolutely a big advantage because, when you're watching a guy play, you can tell if somebody's going to quit on that and chase Billy Wright down. If they'll do it in a combine, they'll do it up here.
Akeem Wright misses that 3. Gibson collects. 8 minutes to go. A long pass. Billy White. Oh, what a feed to Kyle Hunt. Unfortunate not to drain that one, but he's going to the line.
And there again, the height of Kyle Hunt plays a role in there. He's taller than pretty much anyone on the London Lightning roster, and you can just kind of throw it up to him and trust that he's got the hands to bring it down and take it to the hoop.
Well, but the other fair thing about that is that not only can he bring it down, he's outrunning people. You're watching guys miss shots on one end, and Kyle's beating them down to the other end as the biggest guy in the court. So that says something about a guy that's willing to compete and get to the next level.
Moving towards next season, Commissioner, I mean, what kind of news can we expect? There's obviously been the rumors of the new franchise. I'm not going to put you on the spot for that.
It's okay. You can put me on the spot. we're absolutely hoping to. Cape Breton is 99% done. They're just waiting to get all the funding in to run the franchise.
Okay.
So they have plenty of money for the franchise fee, but they want to get all the participants in before they make a big announcement. And I respect that because there's a franchise that's going to come in and stay. Kitchener-Waterloo, I'm entertaining some people today. We've got a couple people that are absolutely want to be in, and we're hoping that in the next 2 to 3 weeks we can have a big announcement. But we will not delay this thing for months and then put a haphazard team together. So, those are the 2 franchises that have a legitimate shot this year. And then, to be quite frank, we're looking at 2 markets already for next year that are showing real nice promise. So we're hoping we can go to 10 this year and 12 next year.
Well, with the Cape Breton franchise, are they going to try to do a model similar to the Hurricanes with, say, 30-odd owners? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
They actually are. I mean, you look at it, the Moncton model is 7 or 8 guys. One main guy that really is going to run everything, and 7 or 8 guys that are coming in to help fund it that believe that one guy can do his job. He's a amazing guy named Ricky Archibald that everything he touches turns to gold. So it's a pretty good investment to invest your money with that guy. But then the other teams, they have 25 in Halifax, and they may have as many as 25 in Cape Breton. Kitchener-Waterloo, we're looking at a group of about 4. So it really just varies at each market what we can find and what's comfortable.
Is there an ideal number? I guess if you wanted a specific number of owners.
Well, it's
whatever works.
It really is whatever works in each individual market. I mean, Vito's fabulous with 1, but you want to have a guy like Vito that's going to be active and as engaged as he is. The one common denominator of a successful franchise, be it Duncan Shaw or James Tipping or Dardis Willis, Richard Petco, all these owners are very, very active with their franchise. And when they're active in their local community, they're from their communities, and they make it happen. And that's what's so big right there.
You mentioned Petco and the Niagara River Lions. What a fantastic first year they had. Not only for the attendance was what they looked for, but the community engagement you could see just from going from their Twitter, Facebook pages, next to none.
Well, it's a very dynamic ownership group. Young, vibrant. Richard sends me emails all the time with bullet-pointed ideas that are long and detailed and quite frankly, very, very good. And it helps drive the direction because he's passionate about it. Again, but these are 3 businessmen, Richard, Jeff, and Mike, that have been successful in their own right, that are from that community, and they want to make certain it succeeds.
To tie this game up, Garrett Williamson makes it 55-all. Halifax managing to keep that 1-point lead throughout most of this third quarter until now.
Growing up in Indiana, they call this an old-fashioned barn burner.
Hunt swatted there by Marcus Capers, and now London is on the run. It's tipped. Williamson, right, can't collect. Who's got it? It'll be taken here by Hunt after a skirmish along the baseline. Gibson has it, steps, Hunt, drains, and it's going to be an offensive foul.
Well, I think they had one ref called defense or blocking, and the other ref called charge.
Well, actually, I think Coach Hugo's is not happy. I've asked those guys to please keep these guys in their boxes. Both coaches who have a tendency to want to roam, but Ross Isley, that ref, didn't make a call. He didn't think he had as good a view, so he let his partner Paul Carter make the call, and it looked like the right call. I don't know.
Nick Okori with possession. The jumper at the top of the key is no good. Referees, always a topic of discussion in this league, and frankly in most basketball leagues around the world. That ball lands in the first row. The steps that you made this year, and even with the rule changes and everything, how do you measure that success?
Well, I mean, some of it is the eye test, and it's meaning I am the one that has to judge this, and my eyes say that these guys are doing a better job than they have in the past. We've got some ideas to make it even better in the future, and I think you're going to see our referees just keep getting better and better.
White takes it up and over Nick Okori, no call, and now here come London. Wright steps around, hands it off. This is Marcus Capers, some very busy hands, and you see Friesen coming up with the ball, but there's a foul call.
Coach Lopez has his tie over his shoulder as he was very demonstrative after that call.
These fashion statements by the coaches this quarter, something we've never seen before.
These are 2 young guys that can pull them off.
Ryan Anderson preparing to come into the game. It looks like Akeem Wright is making way.
If I took my shirt off and if I took my jacket off and had elbow patches, you'd think I was some type of sofa or something.
Akeem Scott getting set on the inbound. Oh, great pass to Capers.
That was one of those good plays that Kyle drew up, that they knew how to execute.
Okori steps around Hunt. He's up against Gibson here. Steps, fires, swatted. Scott keeps it in somehow. They've got 3 seconds on the shot clock. Akeem Scott misses that one. Okori collects, and London now have a fresh shot clock. Akeem Scott electing to slow things down as the Budweiser Gardens crowd applauds. Scott steps, fires, hits the bottom of the backboard, and there's a foul. London loud.
One of the guys we saw on that play, Akeem Scott, of course, was a former member of the Brampton A's when you were coach. London's getting to know him a bit. He's been here, a big factor here in the playoffs. Do you have any Akeem Scott stories?
You know what? We had a young man on our team that I won't mention, and about Akeem's second week in Brampton, the kid wouldn't dive on the floor, and I stopped practice and I said, you got to dive on the floor, and I didn't yell at him. And I'm not much of a yeller, and I'm definitely not a cursor. And Akeem said, "You mind if I say something, Coach?" He said it very casually, and then in language I won't repeat, he let that young man know that he's older than he is, Akeem is, and I'm diving on the floor every day. And if you don't dive on the floor, either coach is going to send you home or he's sending me home. But I'm not playing with you anymore if you don't compete. And I wondered how that went over. And the next day I asked the kid what he thought. He said he was right. So, when you lead by example, you can be strong with your teammates, and that's what Akeem is.
It's crazy how Scott has come into this team very late on, about as late as you can. And he has become a leader, and you can see that just about every pregame, especially in Game 3, last game, when you've got Akeem Scott pumping up his team and throwing his headphones on the ground and pointing at the other team. And it's just so intense that you can see.
You know what, though? What happens is Akeem only came here to win a championship. He could have gained any team he wanted to in the league. He specifically picked London. He thinks they can win a championship, and that's what he's all about. He's recognizing, he had a good year with us, and he got a great contract in Chile out of it. And he knows your future is successful based on how you compete.
Nick Okori for three at the very top gives London a 1-point lead. We've got 5:20 left in this third quarter. Clinkscales bounce pass. Here's Billy White.
That's a big bucket for Nick. He hasn't been shooting well.
Joel Friesen from the corner in front of his own bench. And answer back three.
Boy, those guys are ready to catch and shoot every time they Coach Hugo's doing a nice job of getting those guys ready to catch and shoot every time they catch it.
Okori for three, contested, and he gets back-to-back. London loving it.
Yeah, that's my point precisely. Just get Nick a little bit hot, and he's a whole different kid. He's gone from struggling, looking for the foul on every shot, to now he's really shooting it.
Well, we saw that in Game 2 of the Orangeville series, where he had been rather quiet near the end of the season. We'll see another big three right back by Gibson.
Man, can he shoot.
But Okori, he had the big Game 2 in that Orangeville series, so when he gets cooking, he's hard to stop.
Both teams trading threes. Capers can't quite collect the ball, and it's going to be Halifax ball. A couple of protests from both teams, but regardless, the refs stay with their call. Inbound coming from Clinkscales. 4:25 left in the clock. Marty Thompson, Chris Croucher, and Commissioner David Magley in the booth here for Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals. London looking to tie it up. Halifax looking to take a massive 3-1 series lead with 2 home games, in theory, left to go. Bowdry backs in. This is Gibson. He's swatted. Great defense there by Scott. Can't keep the ball. It's tipped up. Capers collects. Here come the London Lightning, Nick Okori.
Those are some of the minutes that they've needed from a guy like Nick Okori. Having him in the game allows them to have another ball handler alongside Akeem Scott, and his three-point shot keeps the defense honest and lets London get away with playing some small ball because it creates that space on the interior for rebounding.
Well, and I think that hurt them last game when they didn't have a point guard in there, and Ryan had to play point 3 times in a row, and it didn't turn out good for him.
Clinkscales moves it across half, finds White with a looping pass, and that's a foul call against London. That'll be their third. Halifax already up to 7 in this quarter.
Hey, on a personal note, now that he left the booth, how great is Alejandro and Knoxstrom?
Shout out to them.
These guys show up. They put on a great show, and as long as we keep Alejandro from doing play-by-play, I think we're in a great place.
Well, we got to give a special shout-out to Knoxstrom. Of course, they come up here from Windsor for every single game.
It's huge.
And it's been a huge difference in our live streams, not just here, but across the league as it ups the standard, too. So a big shout-out to Knoxstrom.
I get every email. I get every message about when the quality's good and when it's not good. And Alejandro and his team at Knoxstrom just do a fabulous job, and we're so grateful for what they do for the league.
Ball's tipped around, and Glover collects the ball. Capers had his arm wrapped around him.
We talked earlier about Glover looking a little frustrated in the first half. He's had a rather quiet night, and I think that might be the first time he touched the ball in this entire quarter. So London doing a good job of neutralizing Mike Glover, who really gave them a challenge in Game 3.
Well, he's just so doggone strong. He's built like no one else in the league. He kind of reminds me a little bit. I had dinner with Bill Jones last night and Dardis, and he said he reminds him a little bit of DeAndre. And, he's that strong, and he's that big and tough, and he makes a big difference.
Of course, talking about DeAndre Thomas, great finish there by Johnson.
Who was almost an impossible matchup for us, for most teams.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, just how Ryan Anderson for 3, he gets it to go. 66 all. Talking about DeAndre Thomas, though, how no one could handle him, right? That was an incredible performance from him.
We were awfully happy when he was hurt.
So just like that, 66-66, teams trading threes in this third quarter.
But isn't it funny how Corey finds his shot, 1-3, 2-3, a layup, and then he takes a big charge to change the momentum. Every part of your game comes when you're a scorer and you start putting that ball in the hole. And Nick's turned his game around real quickly there.
Inbound coming from Nick Okori. A little bit of movement. Ryan Anderson comes here for 3. Misses. Taken by Klinkskills.
Unfortunately, when I coached, I got to see Ryan do that way too many times.
Was at the Windsor Express at that point.
Windsor and in Ottawa. He was really incredible in Ottawa.
That's correct. Also at the...
if you look at the top 10 plays on the video for the Halifax Hurricane, Billy Wright's in about 6 of them. He is just a fun guy to watch.
Anderson spins, loses the ball. Another turnover here by the Hurricanes. Johnson dribbles it in the corner. The ball falls out of play off of Capers. 19 seconds on the shot clock. Hakeem Scott preparing to come into the game along with Warren Ward. Looks like Ryan Anderson is coming out, and along with Garrett Williamson.
Looks like London just wants to have a bunch of shooters out there. As Capers, of all guys, playing at center right now for the London Lightning.
You've got Hakeem Scott, Nick Okori, and Ed Horton out there as well.
I don't know Marcus's wingspan, but if it's not over 7 foot, I'd be shocked. He is just so doggone long. That allows him to play a bigger position.
Billy White with the shot just on the other side of the rim. He gets it to drop.
It's a tough move.
70-66.
And that's a tough matchup. He's a 6'9" kid going against a 6'5" forward on that one.
Scott with possession. Looks like he's calling Capers in. Moves around, lots of space for him to shoot, and he will over top of Mike Glover. Hakeem Scott with a fantastic 3.
Did a good job of recognizing the mismatch there, having Mike Glover covering the point guard.
And the refs blow things down here along this near side. 2:14 left in this quarter, and that's going to be a foul against Nick Okori. Just to slow things down a little bit. Stephen Maxwell coming to the game, Marcus Capers coming out. One of the big storylines this season, David, has been you've got Stephen Maxwell and Logan Stutz, and even to some extent Justin Moss in Orangeville. You just have these huge pillars in the Central that really took the league by storm.
Well, and the comparable guy at Windsor would be Chris Commons, who'd been around doing it for a while. But those 3 guys were strong, tough. Logan, unusually smart. Just plays very efficient basketball. You had Steven is just maybe the best athlete we've ever seen in the league. He jumps, he's strong, he can really run. And Justin Moss has a feel for the game that is really special. He's tough. He's a rugged kid. Doesn't complain. Just plays his game. Yeah, that's a great point. They really made a difference in the Central Division this year. And
all being newcomers, that's kind of the thing, right? You had all these players coming out of nowhere and killing it for sure.
Well, you've got coaches are doing coaches and GMs are doing a better job recruiting and building. I mean, this Halifax team has 10 guys that have never played in our league before. That's pretty incredible, and they've had the best team in the league all year.
Well, going off of Maxwell and Moss in particular, how big is it for the league that these guys are super young and just still learning how to play basketball at the pro level, and whether it's an NBL or they move on somewhere else, that kind of development, how big is that?
It's really big. I mean, the Brandon Kearney, the 6'7" guard from Moncton, has just been invited to a Miami Heat camp to play on their summer league team. I mean, our guys we're going to have a guy in the NBA. And I don't know who it's going to be, but we're going to be surprised that Cheeks got invited to something in Houston. You know, we've got some nice athletes that are going to have futures outside of our league.
Mike Glover goes to ground just in front of the Halifax bench, and you see the complaints coming from Hugo Lopez. Minute 36 left in the third. Again, the Hurricanes just with that 1-point lead.
The great thing about helping you guys in the third quarter is I'm far enough away from the coaches where they don't know where I am. When I'm by their bench, they gave me that look all the time. Every time there's a call, it doesn't go their way.
They're looking at you, yeah.
They let me know.
Akeem Scott with possession up top. Klingscale's matching up on defense. Here's a Corey. Switches it to Stephen Maxwell. He's fouled. He's going to go to the line.
I'm going to go back to the refs. We talked about it a little earlier in the quarter, but of course you guys instituted a new review system. Can you just give your thoughts on how that's working out so far?
I think it worked out okay. I don't think it was great, but it was good. It was good as much because it told them we're watching them closer. Mike Falloon, who's our head ref, does a really nice job of sending out tape after every game. And we're going to continue to expand that next year. We've got some training events this summer we're going to schedule. We've got some things we're looking at that can try to get them to maybe do more of our games and less of other teams' games. It's hard to go CIS girls and come play us, or CCA boys, or our high school, and then come to our level. It's a 48-minute game. It's strong, it's tough, it's aggressive, and you've got very strong, self-righteous coaches that are going to tell you what's what, and you got to handle that. And it's a different world.
Minute 15 left in the third. Halifax getting set on the inbound. 16 seconds on the shot clock on the far side. This is Bowdry. Takes it back to Klingscales. Here's Glover in the post up against Marcus Capers. Glover is fouled. He's going to go to the line.
You just can't let him get underneath you. I mean, his only option is to keep him banged out there, or actually, the real only option is you got to front him. You've got to front Mike, because if Mike catches the ball in low, Marcus has his hands up saying he's hooking me. Well, heck yeah, he hooks you. He's strong and he's a crafty guy, and he's savvy enough to get away with using every ounce of the rules he can.
Glover misses that one as Budweiser Gardens gets quite loud. See how Glover has done, especially in the last game and now tonight. Chris loves to use the word demonstrative, but that is a prime example of what he is. He's super pumped to get that second one to make it 72-71 for his Hurricanes.
It's interesting, coming into this game, we thought free throws would be greatly improved, but it's only at 58% for the Halifax Hurricanes and 66% for the Lightning.
That's disappointing for both coaches, I know.
Under a minute to go in the third. This is Justin Johnson. Takes it down low to Glover, and there's a foul. Looks like it's going to go against London. Warren Ward not happy with that call.
Yeah, it's hard because Mike's so strong. Warren puts his hands on him, and the ref calls what he thinks is a touch foul. But I don't know. Again, it's shy of getting in front of Mike and not letting him catch it. I don't know any other way you're going to stop Mike Glover.
Well, that's part of what makes him so effective, is that he's able to draw those extra fouls there, just because, a lot of times the defender, you don't really have any choice but to just kind of hang on.
So here's the tip I watch. That free throw, Mike was flat-footed. If a guy finishes on his toes, more than likely he'll have his touch. If he's flat-footed, it messes him up. He was on his toes that time, and he shot a lot better. That's just a little tip from your Uncle Dave.
Nick Okori with possession on the far side. 45 seconds to go in the third. Waits for some movement. Maxwell comes to. Now it's Glover versus Okori. Klingscale's helping. Akeem Scott with it. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Moves back. He's going to take it to the net. Moves up and around. Can't get it to drop. It's tipped around. Who's got it? Bowdry loses it. It falls out off of Warren Ward. Klingscales rushes over as they get set on the inbound quickly, and the Hurricanes are going to take a timeout with 20 seconds to go in the third.
Well, Coach, if you were Hugo Lopez there drawing the timeout, what would you call right here?
I'd probably turn to one of my assistant coaches that were smarter than me, like Paul Mulkeski, and say, hey, Coach Mo, what would you do? And then he'd say, push it up the court, make sure we hold the ball till about 10 seconds, and run our last second play.
Yeah. I have to ask, what's your prediction for this series? I mean, both teams can't win, but
it's gonna go at least 6. Which means my Saturday is going to be at a tryout event till noon and driving 18 hours so I don't miss that game 6. But that's okay. Aubrey Stevenson has to drive with me, so it'll be okay. Beyond that, I have no clue who's going to show up, only because Halifax has such a traditionally good team. Good point guards, great wings, good bigs, great bench, really, really well coached. But doggone if London can't shoot that basketball. And when you got 3-point shooters like London, you just never know when one's going to get hot and equalize this thing.
Fantastic point. You got guys like Ryan Anderson and Warren Ward. They have taken apart games so far this season.
Absolutely. I think it was Game 4 in the Windsor series when Ryan came alive for 36 points. Yeah. You know, who has guys that capable of scoring 36 points just sitting there on your bench?
No. But I mean, you mentioned being just a good traditional team in the traditional sense. Halifax is also incredibly deep. We were talking about that, especially last night. How many players played over 20 minutes per game? I think it was something like 9.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's why sometimes you'll say a guy's not scoring as much as he was before. Well, that doesn't mean anything but the fact that he may not have played as much because Coach Hugo played somebody else a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Bowdry played a ton of minutes last game, and he hadn't even been in the rotation. But he sure was something different to look at.
The numbers I found interesting about that is it was only 2 players played more than 25 minutes, 9 players played more than 20 minutes.
And I'm here to tell you, as the coach who tried to do that, it's really hard to sell that to pros because these guys are all at their experience and they know my next job has to do with my last job stats. Yeah. And if my stats aren't good enough because I don't play enough minutes, it's hard to keep them happy. And he's obviously done a pretty good job at that. I was talking to one of their owners behind the bench tonight, and she told me that this is one of the best group of kids she's seen, and she's watched every game since they were the Rain Men 8 years ago. So, you know, hats off to Andre Livingston for putting together a wonderful team of great young men, and they compete hard, so it's really fun. I know you got to bring in somebody that's better than me. Thanks, guys, for having me out here.
Yeah, David, appreciate it. Thank you very much. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here at Budweiser Gardens. The fourth quarter of Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals is underway. 72-71, the Hurricanes have the lead. Nick Okori misses that jumper for London, and now here come the Canes. Clinkscales with it, top of the key. Switches over to the near side. This is Johnson, Glover in the post up against Marcus Capers. Glover switches around, and that's going to be a foul. He's going to go to the line. And the Halifax bench obviously pumped up about that. They've got a 1-point lead. If this score holds, they take a 3-1 series lead in the NBLC Finals. And just like that, you're 1 win away.
Well, every game, of course, matters, but this one is of the utmost importance for the London Lightning. Because if you're the London Lightning, you either win this game, and then you have to win this game, because if you don't, you give Halifax a chance to either win on your home court or go home up 3-2. So London really needs to get this win. That way they can have a better chance. If they can go into Halifax up 3-2, that's a huge difference for them. So for London, this game absolutely crucial to the outlook of the rest of the series.
Akeem Scott moves it across half for the aforementioned London Lightning. Capers now off to Garrett Williamson at the very top. Great pass by Maxwell. Can't get the roll. Glover collects. Tries to draw the foul. No call, obviously. Clinkscales moves it across half. 11 minutes to go. Hurricanes up 73-71. Deep three. Clinkscales misses. Great rebound by Glover. Spins, fires, and one.
Excellent play as he flexes the gun show right there. Mike Glover showing a great effort. He had a bit of a quiet third quarter, as that time he was staring down a fan right there. You don't want to get Mike Glover going.
Capers sitting on a front row seat, as you can see. Looks like he might be holding an arm.
I'm not sure. He looks like he's holding his head.
Oh yeah, just the very front there. He's walking off on his own volition. Glover at the line once again. They're taking quite a number of free throws in this game. He's just been involved. Mike Glover gets the and one to make this a 5-point game. Ball falls out of play off of Halifax. So Wright gets set on the inbound on this near side. We'll roll it. 2 fouls for the Lightning, 0 for the Hurricanes. Keep that in mind as we get into the tail end of this game. Wright spins. There's a foul. Whistle came from the far side of the court in front of Kyle Julius on the London Lightning bench.
Kevin Loisel just trying to nurse a call out of the refs there. Threw his hands up after a very, very light shove from Akeem Wright.
And he lets off a bit of a smile. Williamson. It looks like Nick Okori's fouled, and Kevin Loisel's not happy about it. And Budweiser Gardens gets a little loud, and once again, Loisel gives off a bit of a smile. So just like that, 2 fouls each. Williamson looks to Okori on the inbound. Okori steps around Loisel. Clinkscales playing defense up against him. Here's Wright. He keeps it somehow, switches it to Williamson. Maxwell down low with the slam.
Big slam from Stephen Maxwell. We've seen that one before. And just like that, the London Lightning get a little bit of bolt of energy, you could say, to get themselves just only 3 points away and keep Halifax within reach.
Clinkscales with it. Gibson moving to the far side. They'll take it to Loisel on the near side. Up against Maxwell. Loses the ball. 3-on-1 opportunity here for London. Okori off to Williamson. 1-point game.
If London gets a stop here, expect Hugo Lopez to call a timeout. This momentum is very much swinging in London's favor right now.
London's bench is pumped up. Ed Horton preparing to come on for the Bolts. Johnson shrugs off Okori. Tipped. Here comes Akeem Scott. London take the lead.
Listen to that crowd. Coach Lopez just going to let them play it out here. He's bringing some reserves on, though.
Looks like Joel Friesen's coming on. Someone's got to do something for Halifax. They've fallen asleep at the start of this 4th quarter. Clinkscales tries to move it around Williamson. Steps, looks for the pass. Great move by Gibson. Now into the corner, back to Clinkscales. No foul call. 1 second on the shot clock. Halifax getting set on the touch line. Joel Friesen coming in. Let's see who's taken out. Looks like Clinkscales is coming out.
I think Ed Horton coming in here for London with Akeem Scott stepping out.
And he receives a Massive applause here from the Budweiser Gardens faithful. Inbound. Johnson off to Gibson. They get the shot off in time.
Definition of a tough shot there from Shane Gibson. That's going to give him 17 points on the game, leading all scorers.
Ed Horton steps around. Here's to right. Open for the three. Misses. Taken there by Friesen. And Halifax with the ball. 2 fouls each. Johnson has it. What a fantastic shot that was from Shane Gibson. Inbound coming from Johnson. Loisel, now back to Johnson. 7 seconds on the shot clock. Justin Johnson misses. Glover can't get the putback. Gets his own rebound. Fouled! Mike Glover!
Mike Glover is way too strong to give a soft foul. If he's going to go up with the ball, you kind of just have to smack it out of his hands and hope, because Mike Glover's too strong to just kind of flail your arm at his attempt there.
3-point lead with the chance to make it for the Bronx native, Mike Glover, at the line. Hugo Lopez takes the knee, and his team's up 4.
Borderline Tebowing right now.
Ed Hort moves it across half for London. They're in white. Halifax is in black. Marty Thompson and Chris Croucher up in the booth. Horton to right and now to Williamson. Looks down low to right. He's fouled on that shot. Pushes Glover off a bit, and Glover has words with Wright. Lots happening. The ref's getting in the way. It's hard not to be frustrated if you're either one of those players, especially the night that Glover had leading up to this point. Not the best, but he's really rebounded.
Well, him and Akeem Wright have been the matchup most of the game, and last game too, and most of the time it's been Glover's winning that battle, but Akeem Wright's gotten the better of him as of late.
So Akeem Wright goes to the line. 17 and 13 on Monday in Game 3. Part of the Akeem team.
That's a good one, Marty.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Wright gets that second one to go. Was part of that Akeem team.
Oh, you said it twice.
Well, you didn't let me finish my sentence. That scored half of their team's points. That's the sentence. Gibson on the far side for 3. It rims out. It's tipped around. Wright collects it. Bounce pass, and now here's a Corey. He's going to charge to the hoop. Up, down, gets his own rebound. Bounce pass, it falls out off of Maxwell's foot. And now here come the Canes. Loisel holds the ball away from Williamson. 8 minutes to go, 81-79.
Not gonna lie, on the other end here, there's probably 3 calls against either team that happened in that little skirmish.
Johnson tries to step around Williamson. He gets it to go! Justin Johnson, and one.
Well, Johnson and Gibson have really been driving the car for the Halifax Hurricanes here, and Johnson makes his presence felt. Of course, we've seen Gibson having an impact in this quarter as well. Halifax really just putting their top guns out there for this fourth quarter. And instead of playing the matchup game, they're just going to say, hey, let's get our best guys out there. And London now has to answer.
Justin Johnson at the line. 83-79. Can't get anyone to drop. Akeem Scott stops at the three-point line, now off to Maxwell, puts his head first down into Kyle Hunt, and he's dispossessed. Halifax getting set on the inbound. 7:37 left in this game. Game 5 will take place here at Bud Gardens on Friday. And then if Game 6 is necessary, it'll take place on the weekend in Halifax, of course. Hunt tries to swing around Akeem Wright. Now backing into the post. Wide open. Johnson takes it all the way to the hoop. Up and around. Great finish. Hunt with the rebound. Can't get the putback. It's tipped around, collected here by Stephen Maxwell. Now here's Akeem Scott. Moving around Gibson there. The key's open. Williamson moving along the baseline. Right backing into Loisel now. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Right distance 2. Misses. Tipped around. Up. Down. Maxwell can't grab it. Dixon with a fantastic play. My apologies. That's Gibson. Switches it. Here's Loisel. Tipped out of bounds by Wright. No, he keeps it in somehow. Williamson takes it as the Budweiser Gardens crowd gets into it. There's a foul.
Finally a whistle of some sort there as Garrett Williamson gets fouled trying to make a cut there. But that's the second kind of sequence of zany action that we've seen here between these two teams. This is the fourth quarter, and both coaches seem to have just kind of taken the reins off them and just letting the horses go. And it's been a little bit chaotic since.
Ryan Anderson coming out of the game. Looks like Garrett Williamson is as well. Looks like a Corey and Ed Horton have come in. We've seen a couple of different and interesting units for the London Lightning so far in this game. They're going to call a reach around there on Loisel. 6:31. 5 fouls for the Hurricanes, 4 for the London Lightning. Now you've got a Corey, Horton, and Scott out there. And then you have Wright and Stephen Maxwell.
Well, I think Horton and Corey have been the most consistent shooters here. So again, London going with a slightly smaller lineup, especially in the backcourt there. And having Akeem Scott, Nick O'Corey, and Ed Horton means any of the three can be the primary ball handler, and you don't have to feel nervous about it. They're all also capable of making some shots, as we see the crowd give a rousing applause to Kevin Loisel for leaving the game as Billy White comes in.
6:31. Scott on the inbound, quickly to a Corey, finds Scott. Now here's Akeem Wright, can't get the roll. Scott with the rebound, he loses it. Johnson on the move, they stretch the floor, Hunt with the slam.
Huge play there from Kyle Hunt to shift the momentum back in Hurricanes' favor. 6-point difference now, 6 minutes left.
Scott at the very top, takes it off to Akeem Wright and now to Ed Horton. London with possession, they're down halfway through the fourth. Wright steps around White. Foul call, it's going to go against Billy White.
Hugo Lopez just did some wind sprints there back and forth after that call.
White having a laugh at the referee, and seems like all is well. So that's going to be Billy White's fourth. And Akeem Wright is going to the line here. Hurricanes up to 6 fouls. As I mentioned before, we're about halfway through this final frame.
London only has one player with 4 more fouls. That's Stephen Maxwell. Part of why we didn't see a terrible amount of him in the third quarter there.
Five-point game here. Akeem Wright gets set. The 31-year-old. Shooting around 67% from the field over the season, and
got to make your free throws, kids.
He goes 1 for 2 there. Corey matching up against Johnson. 5:55. Friesen fakes the pass. Lots of space underneath the hoop as you see Johnson kind of looking down there. He's going to find Hunt. Tries to spin around right. He gets that one to drop. The 6'10 Hunt crushes that.
Kyle Hunt having an incredible series and giving the Lightning fits all over the court. Wow! Circus shot there from Akeem Scott. We just mentioned how big Kyle Hunt is, and he had the full wingspan out trying to get that swat there, and Akeem Scott just goes up and under it and gets 2 points.
Unbelievable way to go into break. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Halifax up 87-82, 5:34 on the clock. Akeem Scott gets set to go to line after that fantastic circus shot. I would say over Kyle Hunt, but it was up, over, and around.
It was under and up. It was an impressive shot there. Akeem Scott, of course, no stranger to some physical contact on the basketball court. That time he makes the right adjustment and gets himself a nice three-point play to keep London within reach.
Friesen moves around to Corey, takes it right to the hoop. Foul.
Almost had a huge dunk there. Nico Corey didn't really have any choice but to foul him on that play.
He's going for the poster on the right side of your screen. Billy White calls his team in before the free throw. They're up 87-83. As we mentioned before, Game 4, Halifax could take a 3-1 series lead with a win here tonight. Looks like they just want to wipe down that ball. A little sweaty for Friesen's liking.
Well, I mean, only 5 minutes left here. It's hard not to have some sweat on the ball at this point. That's my hard-hitting analysis there, Marty. I hope you appreciate that.
I really do, Chris. You can't see it at home, but I have my hand on his shoulder. Joel Friesen, the University of Alberta grad, misses that first one.
Should mention, no flag behind the courts, so we can all stop talking about it.
Right. We can. Friesen gets the second one to drop and quickly gets shifted over to Mark Horton. Corey backs up, tries to charge the lane, steps around, up and over, drains it!
Oh, Shane Gibson almost swatted that thing over to the far side of the court, too. Nico Corey, great adjustment to avoid the block. This is probably the best game we've seen from Nico Corey since Game 2 of that Orangeville series.
Billy White with the ball up top. Ooh, can't find Hunt. And now here come the London Lightning. Akeem Wright off to Akeem Scott. Steps around. Foul. He's going to go to the line.
You can tell Hugo Lopez is getting really frustrated with some of these calls, too. I think the reffing's been hit or miss tonight. I think overall it's been rather solid. It's just a little inconsistent quarter to quarter. But it's got to be hard for a coach when you see your team make a pretty good defensive effort there and then have the ref bail out London by calling that foul.
Warren Ward comes into the game as Ed Horton makes way. Budweiser Gardens clapping away, giving him an appreciation for what he's done so far.
Should point out the foul situation heading into this quarter was 21-19. Halifax had only been called for 2 more fouls than London, so hasn't really swung either way.
And the Hurricanes over the limit. We've got 4:47 left in Game 4. Akeem Scott makes it a 1-point game. Halifax have the lead, and they have the ball. Johnson with a Corey in his face. Steps around. Looks around. Takes the 3, contested. Oh my goodness, so close for Justin Johnson, who's got the rebound. They're going to call a foul.
I don't know. I think they're saying White was out of bounds when he made his touch, so that's going to be Lightning ball.
It'll be a loose
Oh, pardon
ball.
me. Loose ball foul there on, was that Ward?
That's what I heard. Someone on London anyways. Their third regardless. Gibson getting set on the inbound, fresh shot clock, most importantly, for the Hurricanes. Johnson's unlucky not to get that 3 at the very end there. Still has it. Steps around, going to take it all the way to the hoop. Hunt collects, finishes, offensive foul. No basket.
Akeem Scott draws the charge there. And looked like he was worried about the ball landing on him. Or maybe someone on the Hurricanes landing on him there. It's got to be scary when you land on the ground right on your back and you've got a bunch of 6'5" people jumping around you.
In Hunt's case, 6'10".
Well, imagine the impact Mike Glover makes when he lands. Not on the court, but imagine.
Mike Glover not on the court. Hunt coming in to really play his role. Wright with possession. Tries to step around White. Backs into him. No call as Friesen's quick to grab and run. Refs blow it down.
Yeah, Nick Okoria with the open court foul there.
Halifax will be disappointed. Looks like they were maybe set to score some points there.
Both Akeem Wright and Billy White getting up slowly on the other end here.
It's been a physical series, but especially if you look towards the London Lightning, it's been a very physical playoffs, especially considering the Windsor series. Been some very tough games, some very athletically demanding games as well. Joel Friesen at the line. 2-point game. He's got it.
As we saw last game, these free throws just so critical.
Friesen misses that one, but with 4 minutes to go, only 2-point leads, nothing. Maxwell keeps it. This is Scott. He's going to slow it down. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Steps back, looks for some space for three, gets it to go. London take the lead.
Huge three-pointer there from Akeem Scott. Gets the crowd back into it, and this is the first Lightning lead in quite some time here.
Johnson steps across, a Corey in his face. Friesen's in motion along this near side. Johnson with a bit of space, steps around a Corey, takes it up to the hoop, can't get the roll. Scott with it now for London. Coming off of that three-pointer, steps back into three-point territory. Friesen not having any of it. Takes a couple steps after the three-point line just to make sure. Bounce pass to Wright. 8 seconds on the shot clock. Wright backing in on Johnson. Bit of a mismatch. Here's a Corey for three. Near side. Hits the outside part of the rim. Now here's Billy White. Down low. After the Hail Mary pass, that's a foul against Akeem Scott.
Yo, I absolutely love Billy White's toughness as Akeem Scott reacts to with the fans about that foul call.
He was getting bowed to.
But with Billy White, I think it was I think it shows his toughness and a lot about him that despite the broken nose, he's gotten a couple of hits to his face there. And even with the broken nose, even with the mask on, he's come out here and had his best game of the series. And most of it's come from working on the inside. He hasn't shied away from those dirty areas despite his injury, and I think that just shows you how tough this kid is.
90-90. Billy White with the chance to give Halifax Hurricanes the lead once again with 2:49 left on the clock. Massive game in this series, and it's like Game 3 turning out to be a fantastic one. Both teams over the limit for fouls. Akeem Wright with Billy White there. Now here's Maxwell up top. A Corey for three at the very top. Misses. Glover with a rebound, but it'll fall right onto Garrett Williamson's lap.
Now London gets to kill some more clock here.
Scott steps around, foul call. It's going to go against Clinkscales. He's not happy. London is, though. Akeem Scott is about to go to the line here. 2:26 left in Game 4.
I should add, I see some talk in the comments section about the fouls. Again, we don't have live stats. We only have what we had at the end of the third quarter, and that was Halifax taking 20 free throws compared to 14 for London. However, I do think there's been an uptick in the shooting fouls called in London's favor in this fourth quarter.
Of course, just like you guys at home, we don't have the live stats for tonight, so unfortunately we can't update you on that, but it's definitely worth noting. Second shot's good. 92-91. Clinkscales. Players getting set. Mike Glover's coming to the game. He's up against Akeem Wright. He's in motion on this near side. He gets the ball, loses Scott, tries to step around Wright, misses. Tipped around. Clinkscales is going to grab it here. Freeze it. Fresh shot clock, 2 minutes to go.
Smart of Halifax to bring it out and slow it down here. Veteran move from Friesen and Clinkscales to do that.
Clinkscales waits. Here we go. Shane Gibson for three. Oh my goodness. Money Shane Gibson.
What an absolutely beautifully drawn up play. And Shane Gibson able to convert the very difficult shot. He just came around the screen and launched that thing. And boy, did he have the shooter's roll to get that one to rattle on in.
Stephen Maxwell hands it off to Nick Okori. Can they get an answer back three? Can they just get a bucket here? Okori off of his foot when he was dribbling. Looks like that's going to be a foul against Mike Glover. Minute 35. London's going to the line. Mike Glover on 3 fouls as well. Keep that in mind. Could we see overtime? Haven't seen one yet in these NBLC playoffs, but to tie this one up. Nick Okori's good. London's bench on their feet as they watch their team seek a very important stop.
Ooh, Friesen almost got open there.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Now down to 6 seconds. Clink Scales for three.
Huge three-pointer there from the veteran point guard. Garrett Williamson got caught overcommitting to the switch, and it left Clinkscales completely open.
London just can't handle the Halifax Hurricanes three-point shooting. Akeem Wright, distance 2, contested, it's no good. Friesen collects the rebound with exactly 1 minute to play in Game 4. Hurricanes 97, Lightning 94. Halifax is in no rush. Clinkscales fresh after that three, taking his time. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Glover's in front of him. Finds some space down low. Glover can't collect. Big collect there by Stephen Maxwell. He steps around. Foul there against Joel Friesen.
Glover's down.
Glover's right on the court on this near side. Looks like he's rolling.
Seems to be in a lot of discomfort here.
There's going to be a timeout from the London Lightning as Halifax players coming over to help him out. Interesting time to call a timeout for Kyle Julius. I mean, they haven't played bad in this fourth quarter, but a Shane Gibson and Cliff Clinkscales three, and here they are.
Well, when you're heading into the closing moments, you want to make sure your team's all on the same page. That's what this timeout's about. He hasn't seen his team performing poorly in this quarter. In fact, they've done a really good job. But Halifax has had a counter punch for every punch the Lightning throw. And now he's going to bring them into the timeout, get everyone on the same page, draw up a play, and see if he can get this thing in London's favor. No team is giving an inch, and this has been some fantastic basketball here in the fourth quarter. And I imagine Hugo Lopez is pretty thankful that Coach Julius called it too, because again, he gets to reel in his troops, say, there's not much time left, let's wrap this thing up.
Regardless of what happens tonight, Game 5 will take place here at Budweiser Gardens on Friday night, 7 p.m. Knoxstrom will have it, as always. The question is, will it be an elimination game for the London Lightning if they lose? Or will they have the opportunity to maybe win 2 in a row? If they win tonight, win again, head to Halifax only needing 1 more. Tons of storylines. 37 seconds left in Game 4, regulation time that is. Stephen Maxwell goes to the line with a set of very crucial free throws. You've got to make them.
Maxwell's been shooting around 80% on the season,
which, as you said, is a big improvement from his numbers previous to this season.
Well, he's shooting 10% better than his career average of 70 over this year. He had 70 for his career, 80 on this year. So again, it's been a big improvement for Stephen Maxwell, and part of what's made him such a good scorer at this level, because he doesn't have a huge variety of offensive moves, but because he's been able to convert from the free throw line, his scoring numbers have been inflated a little more than they would have been.
Stephen Maxwell at the line to make this a 1-point game. 2 for 2, 97-96. London now down just by 1. Halifax with the ball. Clinkscales has it. Williamson once again marking. Friesen takes the ball on a step. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Back to Clinkscales. Maybe trying to find Glover down low. He's working hard against Williamson. Williamson guarding for his life. Shot clock expires. The three is no good.
Gotta get the rebound. Gotta get the rebound.
It's going London way.
The ref certainly added to the drama on that one. But that's going to be a battle that ends up in London's favor. Now they've got the ball. 9 seconds left. Down 1. This is going to be an exciting finish one more time here in the NBL Finals.
Trying to find a shooter. Who do you try to find?
Traditionally, it's been Warren Ward. That's usually been the guy they go to on inbounds plays, but don't be surprised if Nick Okori checks in for the shot here. He's been hot, and of course he had that huge buzzer beater much earlier in the year. I believe that one was against Orangeville, and he's one of the best pure shooters in the league, just like Ward, just like Anderson. So London certainly has options. It's just a matter of who they decide on.
Well, you don't even need a three.
Well, that's why I was about to say is, like, if they go for the two, they could just try a surprise and lob it right into Stephen Maxwell on the alley-oop.
This is a massive play for the London Lightning. Their season could hinge on what happens in the next 0.5 seconds on the clock. 97-96, Halifax up 2-1 in the series. Budweiser Gardens on their feet. Everyone eagerly awaiting what will happen when London inbounds the ball on this near side. Mike Glover has come out of the game. At first glance, it looks like Kyle Hunt has come in to replace. Williamson on the inbound. Gibson getting set to try to block. 9.3 on the clock. Williamson on the inbound. Akeem Scott is the man in motion. He grabs it, steps. Now down to 7 seconds. Tries to step around, freeze it all the way to the hoop. He's fouled. With 4 seconds to go, Akeem Scott is going to the line.
We saw Akeem Scott. After the last game, he shot 50% from the free throw line in Game 3. And after the game, he spent hours on the court after the cleanup crew had left. Everyone had left except Akeem Scott, who was practicing his free throws. And what a storyline it is that this is what the end of the game could come down to. Akeem Scott and his free throws.
If he doesn't make them, you know he'll be back out there again tonight. As you mentioned, Chris, what a storyline. What a way for this game really to come full circle after what happened in Game 3. Akeem Scott at the line. Budweiser Gardens just itching with excitement. Quite a bit of noise. 4 seconds exactly left on the clock to tie the game up.
Nothing but net.
Drains it. Scott's pumped. Tie game. To take a 1-point lead, Halifax obviously going to take a timeout if he gets this. London with a 1-point lead with 4 seconds to go. Halifax timeout. Budweiser Gardens is buzzing.
I can hear my heart beating through my chest right now. This is the most exciting game we've called in a very long time. Our first finals personally. And wow, what a finish we could have here. What a crucial game too. You might have heard our producer giving a woo in the background there. Everyone here is just jacked up for this game. What a finish we're leading into here.
Switching to the Halifax Hurricanes. You've got 4 seconds. You've got to get a bucket. That's it.
Well, with the timeout, I believe they advance it to half court. So we're going to see Halifax. 4 seconds is plenty of time to get that shot off, and they only need 2. So Halifax, it's not even close to over here. London has to make a huge stop. This is the biggest defensive play of London's season right here.
Could they even this series up? Again, we're just speechless here. It just came full circle. You see Akeem Scott pumping up this crowd. The fan favorite. Single-handedly putting his team back into this one.
They haven't known him for long, but they're getting to know him well. Akeem Scott, huge for this London Lightning team. And now, Halifax needs the answer.
London's acting like this game's over. The fans here anyways. Halifax getting set. 4 seconds, 1 basket. That's what they need. London need to stop.
There was almost a situation of Akeem Scott covering Mike Glover. That would have been a mismatch.
Klingscales on the inbound. This is Glover. Straight to the hoop. Foul call. Mike Glover's going to the line with 2 seconds to go.
Oh my lord. This game is relentless.
That's the play of your Halifax. Get it to Glover, get him fouled.
You know London hasn't been able to cover him, so I love that play call from Hugo Lopez because he's so strong. And it was a small lineup out there for London too. Mike Glover's been able to take over on Akeem Wright multiple times throughout this series. So that was a good job of A, recognizing that Glover would be in that matchup, and B, getting him the ball in the perfect spot. They caught him in motion on the way to the rim. Now Mike Glover, 70% free throw shooter, has to make them both.
Gets the first one. Tie game, 98-98. Here we go. Again, 2.2 on the clock. Mike Glover to give Halifax the lead late. It's good for Mike Glover. Instant timeout. Halifax have a 1-point lead.
I don't think there was a timeout. Just a substitution.
The substitution, and that's it. So 2.2 on the clock. Halifax's bench is on their feet. Everyone's on their feet right now. The Hurricanes have a 1-point lead. 2.2 on the clock. London have to score.
London has to get all the way down the court too.
It's going to be a long one. Right, where does he take it? Where does he take it? Off to Scott. He's got to shoot it right now. He gets it off in time. He's well short. What a finish. Halifax take a 3-1 series lead in Game 4.
What an ending to this game. What a show these two teams have put on. I know the London fans not very happy with that result, but that was truly one of the greatest games we've seen in the NBLC. Tight from start to finish, and just wow, what an amazing game.
We will be right back with our post-game wrap-up. Welcome to the post-game show. Marty Thompson and Chris Croucher up in the booth. We're coming down from the excitement at this point. As you can see behind us, the score 99-98. Halifax win it in dramatic fashion.
Well, that was a nice quiet game, huh? Just what an eventful matchup between these two teams. Lots to talk about in this one. Whether it be that finale with the just stress-inducing free throws at the end, some of the play from the Halifax and London players in crunch time, some of the defense from both sides. There was just a lot to like in this game.
Let's talk a bit about Akeem Scott. Very, very good performance from him. Came down to those free throws. He made it. Every player down the stretch was perfect from the line.
Well, I feel almost a little sick for Akeem Scott. He put in all the work on those free throws on Monday night. He put in all the work in this game. He got to the line and made the free throws when they counted, and it still wasn't enough. My heart goes out to him. But the London Lightning, really no reason to hang your heads after that one. That was just a case of Halifax beat you. And boy, was that a close one. It doesn't get much closer than that. And to have it come down to that final shot, just a heartbreaking ending.
I mean, both teams played well, right? Both teams did everything that they needed to do. But it's one of those games where it just comes down to the wire.
This is what last game would have been if London hadn't had those late breakdowns. This one was start to finish, a tight game, a defensive showdown, and both these teams are just beating each other up right now. And it's pretty fantastic basketball to watch. And I gotta say, we're gonna be back here on Friday night, and I don't think my heart's gonna take it. I'm most likely gonna faint. I'll just be sitting here on camera. We'll be doing our pregame, and I'll just do one of these. I'm just going down. So it's happening.
As Chris mentioned, Game 5 on Friday, same place, same time, 7 p.m. Be sure to tune into that. Halifax with a 3-1 series lead. They could win the NBLC championship with a win. You're still feeling it.
Oh, yeah. I just gotta wait for the heartbeat to settle down a bit.
We're going to leave you here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, the final score in Game 4 of the 2016 NBLC Finals, Halifax 99, London 98. The Hurricanes take a 3-1 series lead.